Welcome back to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. Online, it is retire210.com. If it's time to talk about your retirement, it's time to actually do the math on your retirement. If you're thinking about it, let's put pencil to paper. It's time to do it. Jay Kirkwood is here once again. Jay, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, Randy. What's new with you?
Well, you know what? We're going to talk about something that you deal with all the time. And you tell me that, people come to you and there's layoffs at work and all of a sudden people have to retire early and all that kind of thing. Well, there's a lot of companies right now that are trying to avoid all that. So they're saying, how can we cut costs without laying people off? And one of the things that we're finding around the country right now is companies are temporarily suspending their match in their 401k. So let's get into our audience's head and shoes here for just a second, because you're 62 years old, you're on the glide path to retirement, another 3 years or so, maybe 4 or 5 years, you're going to do it. And they take away the one thing that you're there for, and that is that 401k and that match. So if somebody comes in and they're in their 60s and they're kind of thinking about retirement, should they move out of that employer 401k because you're not getting the match anymore and move that money over to a brokerage account or something that's more under their control? Are we missing something here? Should it be time for me to go over to the Roth because I have enough tax deferred money? Lots of questions. How do we deal with this one?
Yeah, lots of questions going on there. And, at a higher level, the topic this brings up, and we end up having this conversation a lot with the children of our clients who, they're not just entering the workforce, but they might have been in the workforce 5 to 10 or 12 years. And the discussion we're having with them to try and prepare them for retirement is, hey, you're not going to get the same deal your mom and dad did. Right? This is going to be more and more on you. And if you don't basically empower yourself to take your retirement planning into your hands, there's not going to be a pension there for you. There probably will be Social Security, but they're not going to get it at 62 or 67 or anything like that, very likely. And this is another one of kind of that topic, right? Is there's a 401k and we were matching it. The problem you see with these sorts of things is once they pull it, it's like, well, kind of, things are tough. We've got to pull it. And then it just never really comes back, right? So do you remember in 2000, you didn't used to have to pay for luggage.
Right.
Remember that?
Right.
Like when you flew, you didn't used to have to pay for luggage. You also used to get, if you go way back, you used to get a meal, right? And then 2000, oil's $150 a barrel. Well, we got to cut costs and you got to charge you for luggage now. That never went away.
No, it didn't.
Right. So those sorts of things, it could be a wholesale change, right? That you got to prepare for. And it depends on someone's situation. So you mentioned, should we move the money out of the 401k? A lot of people don't realize this, but most 401ks, we've only come across 2 in like 15 years that couldn't do this. Once you get to 59 and a half, you can stay at your employer, keep contributing to your 401k. If they have a match, you still keep getting the match, but you move your balance out of the 401k. You can do that, right? A lot of people aren't aware of these options that are available to them. But should you keep contributing? Should you not? Should you do a Roth? Should you move it out? What's your situation? It's all going to be dependent on what's going on with you. But the bigger thing I'd like people to take away from this is looking at being responsible for their retirement themselves, because no one's coming to save you with this.
Yeah, good point.
It's just not right. Pensions aren't making a comeback. If anything, they're on the extinction list. 401ks don't seem to be getting more generous. This sort of thing is going on more and more, right?
So would you look at this situation and look at somebody and say, okay, you've got a nice 401k here. It's time to stop putting money away in the tax deferred bucket because you're just compounding your tax problem later in life. If you still want to contribute, if they have a Roth 401k option, let's move the money over there or move the money into your own brokerage account. Does there come a point where you say you've got enough tax deferred money, we need to move elsewhere?
Yeah. Compounding the tax problem is definitely a discussion that we have. It comes up a lot is if you're still getting an employer match, their match is going into the pre-tax anyway. Right. So even if you do your Roth contribution, if you are getting a match, that's going into the pre-tax side anyway. But it gets even more complicated than that, Randy. is it at a point now where, hey, we want to retire, we've got a bit of debt. Is it more financially practical to redirect that money into paying off debt and improving our cash flow when we retire? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the thing that we can do. Does it make sense to move money from the 401k out into a brokerage account somewhere, a brokerage IRA account somewhere, and instead of being, every 401k is a little bit different, but the vast majority have very few options.
Yeah, right? It's kind of limited, yeah.
Yeah, you might have 15, 20 options, and then 7 or 8 of those are actually just target date funds anyway, which are mixtures of the others, right? Yeah. And is now the time to look at, hey, let me get out of this restrictive environment to a degree that I'm in with the 401k. And as I'm preparing for retirement, open my options up from a couple dozen to hundreds of thousands.
Right.
Is that likely could be a conversation as well. It's all about getting ahead of what's coming up in your retirement.
And this is one of those situations and stories that I think is really kind of showing that spotlight on why to come in early. If you had Jay in your corner and you were working with him, saying, I'm going to retire 3-5 years from now, and something like this happened, you've got him as a resource. And you can go in and say, Jay, they just did this. I'm still working. What do I do? And that can be invaluable. So we talk about, if it's 3 years from retirement, 5 years from retirement, hey, let's get a real good bead on your retirement right now. And Jay will do that with the team at no cost or obligation. Let's talk through it. Secure financial management at retire210.com. That's the website. Tool around there. Learn more about Jay and the team. Jay's book there is Wall Street's Game. It's down at the bottom of the page there. You can download one of the chapters on that. If you come in for a meeting, you get the entire book. And we'll go through those steps for retirement that we talk about here on the show. Retire210.com or 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. All right, there was a kind of famous survey that was done back in the 80s, and they asked people to rate their own driving skills. 93% of them said, I am an above average driver.
Of course.
That's mathematically impossible. That can't be. But that's what they said. They had a very high opinion of themselves. Okay, fast forward to this last year. A study was done asking people to rate their skills on how they could plan their own retirement. 67% of people were confident, I can do this on my own. Sometimes perception is not reality. Okay? So I get it. There's enough information out there for people to do this and the do-it-yourselfer. That's cool. That's fine. But, what would somebody miss? What are the common things? Somebody comes in, and I know you tell me sometimes people come in just to find out, get a pat on the back, say you're doing just fine. Well, what are the things that you say sometimes are glaring errors that they missed on the do-it-yourselfer?
Yeah. So side note on that, you probably haven't seen it. I probably get a different feed in Facebook than you do, I'm sure. They did something similar. So they had like 10 guys. They asked like, hey, if you're on the on a plane and then the pilot died or whatever, right? The pilot couldn't land. Like, could you land it? Like 90% like, oh yeah, like,
I could do that.
For sure, right? So then they put them in like this professional grade simulator.
Yeah.
Like, all right, go for it.
And
it was not pretty. It wasn't pretty.
I actually did that once. I went to Delta. And they put us in the simulator and they gave us all this and I'm bringing the plane down, and I didn't realize that the black on this side was the runway, the black on this side was the runway, in between was grass. I thought that was the runway, and I put her down in the grass. It was not good. It was not good at all.
Yeah. One guy got it down, and he said he wasn't a pilot, but I have my doubts.
Okay.
About that. But anyhow, right? What surprises me with this sort of stuff, and we've had this conversation offline before too. Like if somebody is do it yourself, we kind of have a bit of a rule like, hey, good luck to you. Like, we don't want to try and change your mind. Like, the worst thing is trying to work with somebody who thinks they can do it better, right?
Sure.
So we're certainly not in that business of trying to bring people on. But what surprises me with that confidence level is, and I learned this concept when I was reading something about Jeff Bezos and like kind of how he built Amazon. And he talks about, hey, when you're making decisions or you're deciding what to do, look at if this is a one-way door or a two-way door, right? If it's a two-way door, go in, do it. No big deal. Doesn't work out, you can come back, right? No harm, no foul. If it's a one-way door and the repercussions of those actions could have unchangeable consequences, be much more careful.
Gotcha.
And I would think retirement is a one-way door, right? Like if you go in there and you make some mistakes, you may not be able to recover from it. And I think I've shared this story with you before. We had a lady, this is like 10 years ago. She came to one of our events and she attended and she chatted with me like very briefly after. And she said, yeah, like I want to come and talk to you at some point. I said, okay. And it was probably 6 months or maybe 8 or 9 months even before she came. And she came in and saw me. And in the meantime, she'd set an appointment, canceled it, set an appointment, canceled it, finally came in. I didn't really know what was going on with her, like what the hesitation was. Maybe it was just busy, life got in her way. And it wasn't that. She was embarrassed about what had happened, right? She'd retired, I don't know, a year or so before. And she came in, she said, I don't think you can help me with this because of, it's already happened. But, I at least want to talk to somebody about it and see, just do the due diligence I should have done before, right? And so she'd retired. She had about $1 million in a 401k. And her dream was always to have a beach house down on the coast here. So she retired and paid cash for her dream beach house. Where do you think that cash came from?
I'm guessing her 401k.
Yeah. And so it comes from a 401k. and side note on that, right? And she kind of mentioned this, and I was like, okay, this is kind of where the real problem lies, and I don't know if she's even realized it. It was her brother or her neighbor or somebody who considers themselves a financial expert was telling her, hey, you can buy a house in your IRA or your 401k, which technically it's true. There's a way to do that, but you also can't enjoy it either. It's got to be an investment, right? Like you can't. And so, I mean, her problem was way bigger than that. So she went and bought it and didn't put in an IRA or anything anyway, right? Just took $500,000 out. And so with your 401k, they're going to withhold 20%. And so she was like, oh, well, yeah, like they're withholding. Well, she did this the same year that she retired too, right? Like towards the end of and so she's got her and her husband's income plus $500,000 on top of it. Well, 20% is not going to be enough. So she goes and buys the house. And so it's not until tax season that she's got this 6-figure tax bill.
Yeah.
And, well, she doesn't have a couple $100,000 lying around.
So she took it out of the 401k again.
Where's she going to get it? Right? So they withheld, and again, it wasn't enough. I mean, it wasn't as bad the next time, right? But she still, and so, this house, this $500,000 house cost her, I don't know, $600,000-$700,000, like wipes out most of her 401k. And she said, I hate the house. I hate it now. Because like every time I'm there, this is what I'm thinking about. And I mean, she was right. I couldn't help her.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do?
What's done is done. Yeah.
Right. What's done is done. And those are the sorts of things that if you just had someone to talk to about it, they might be, hey, you can do what you wish. Just be aware the repercussion is this, this, and this. And you might want to think twice about that.
We hear it all the time. Do-it-yourselfers are really focused on investments, but they sometimes are not even thinking about taxes. And that can come back and bite you. You can move your money forward 10, 15%, but if you lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes, where does that get you? Okay?
That's right.
Let's talk through this. If I know there are some do-it-yourselfers out there right now that are listening to us because they're wondering, do I have all my bases covered? The one thing that you don't want is 5 years into retirement and get a big tax bill and go, what happened? I didn't see this coming. Let's give you that view of what's coming. Give Jay a call. Give the team a call. Let's sit down and run your numbers for retirement. And at no cost, no obligation, let's get a look at this. Retire210.com is the website. You can start right there, tool around a little bit, learn more about secure financial management. Jay's book, which is Wall Street's Game, is right there at the bottom of the page. You can download a chapter there. If you come in for a meeting, we'll give you a copy of the book. But it's time to talk about your retirement and get the nuts and bolts done. 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. All right, you've heard of the 60-40 portfolio. It's kind of a generic, broad brushstroke thing that the Wall Street folks think should do you well in retirement. 60% stocks, 40% bonds. Well, Vanguard just came out with a surprising recommendation. They said you should flip it. 40% stocks and 60% bonds, which seems very much like a retirement portfolio. But I was wondering why. Does Vanguard not see the future as being bright? Is that a good recommendation for a retiree? Or how do you figure out the pie, the 60-40, 40-60, 70-30? How do you figure that part out?
Well, we talk about this concept a lot, right? Is who's that recommendation for? Right? Is it for the person who has no guaranteed income and they're going to have to rely off their portfolio for their whole retirement? Maybe it's right for them. I don't know. Is it for somebody who already has a strong pension and they have Social Security as well and they're not even using this and they can afford to take the risk? I don't know if that's a very good recommendation for them. So it's all about context. We've talked before about Susie Orman and O'Leary coming up with these numbers, 3 million, 5 million, whatever it is, right? And it's the same thing. Who is that for? Because you can't give random advice like that. But I will say this, Vanguard has been harping for the last 5 years that people need to get more conservative. And if you listen to them, you would have missed out on significant returns in the market. And that comes with trying to predict the future, doesn't it? Right? This is what happens to you when you try and predict the future. More so than this, what I think this opens the conversation to that's important is, and I think this is kind of more behind what they're pushing here, a lot of retirees have way too much risk in their portfolios, right? Way too much risk. And it's a factor of a couple things. First of all, we talk about the mind shift and the move from work life to retirement life, right? So, for decades, you've been there at work, diligently putting away into your 401k, investing, probably having a match from your employer. For most of the boomers retiring and the older Gen Xers, the market has been very good to you. Yeah, there's been some bumps here and here. Yeah, 2008, that stunk. That's right. 2022 recently, we're down 20%. Yeah, outside of that, it's been relatively good to you, and you've had good growth in there, right? So you've got this kind of ecosystem you've experienced for, let's call it 40 years, and now you come to retire. That's a pretty big mind shift. To change from work life to retirement. You say, well, hey, everything's changing now where your mind has been growth for 40 years. And now why would I change to growth? Well, it only takes a bit of a market correction to kind of wake up to the reality of, wow, this can go down, and it goes down a lot faster when I'm not adding to it in a down market as well. And this is what I believe, just as an outside observer, is that this information that's coming from places like Vanguard that, hey, be more conservative, in this case, flip the portfolio. It is problematic advice because it's not personalized. The overarching theme, I believe, that they're trying to create is you're retired now. Things are different. What got you to where you are now will not get you through the next 20, 30 years of retirement. I think we've talked about this before. The best kind of real world analogy I can give of stepping back from the work examples we give is a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. It's not uncommon now that someone scales Mount Everest. I don't know, back when you were a kid, Randy, but I remember being as a kid, it was just like, how many people have been there? 4? Right. Now it's like, right. Now it's like, it's they take hundreds of people up at once, it seems, right? Yep. And I've got to imagine this phenomenon I'm about to describe is caused by this problem. When everyone's going up, hey, we're doing something that's pretty dangerous, right? What's the top of it? 28,000
29,
feet or something, whatever it is. Yeah, 29,000 feet. You've got to imagine, unless you're a Sherpa, most people have got to be on oxygen up there. I mean, that's where airliners fly, right? So you're like, okay, we've got to get up there, be very safe, double check everything, got our oxygen with us, all right, just slow and steady, let's get up there. And you get there, it's like, I've done it. Guess where most of the deaths happen?
On the way down.
when they're coming down.
Yeah.
Right? So like, hey, we got there. The risk is behind us. The danger is behind us. No, it's not. It's actually just starting.
Mm-hmm.
And because you think you've overcome the hardest part, in this case, scaling the summit, in the investment side of it, I've accumulated the wealth. Well, the real risk now is in the decumulation, the spending, the funding of your retirement.
And you're encountering things on the way down that you never happened in your life on the way up. I mean, one of them is you are now in charge of your health care. You are now in charge of your tax planning. You are now in charge of, what happens to you if you have to go into some kind of a long-term care facility or something like that. These are things that you never dealt with before. And now you also have cut off your employer paycheck. So that money that's coming in every month, now you're wondering how that is all going to work. So the trip on the way down really is, I mean, you need a different kind of Sherpa on the way down than you needed on the way up, don't you?
Well, what I think the smarter people realize is that the advisor that will get me through retirement is different from the person who got me to where it is, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean they're better or they're worse. It's a different skill set. Just like if you have a health condition, I want the guy who specializes in that issue, right? I don't want to go to my general practitioner for a heart issue. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go to a foot guy if I've got a toothache. Mm-hmm. Like, I want the guy that just does this all the time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean the other guy isn't good. I'm sure he's great at what he does. You need the expert who specializes in getting people through retirement.
And that's what Jay does. He lives in this retirement area. You're going to retire once, as I say. Jay has retired hundreds and hundreds of people. And to take advantage of that experience to say, okay, what am I experiencing and what am I going to experience 5, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now? What's out there that I need to know about? That's the kind of information you'll get as you put together a retirement plan with Jay and the team at Secure Financial Management. I'm going to give you the number here, 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200 to set up a no-cost, no-obligation look at your retirement. The Get Me to Retirement process is right there on the website. You can kind of see that. Just sitting down, talking through who you are, what you want to do in retirement. Tell us about your taxes. Tell us about your family. Do you have parents that lived into their 90s? That's an important aspect of these things as well. There's a lot to talk about. Let's get your questions answered. No cost or obligation. Retire210.com. You can set it up right there. There's a place for you to put some information in there. And don't forget about the book right down there at the bottom of the page called Wall Street's Game. And remember to have this podcast delivered straight to your favorite podcast platform by hitting like, follow, or the subscribe button. Thanks again for listening to Clear Skies Retirement, and we'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jay Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.